The WNBA season starts this Friday, May 16th, in what very well could be the most anticipated season in the history of the W. We've got that 2024 draft class coming back for their sophomore season. Paige Beckers, the first overall pick, coming in for her rookie year. We got a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what this year will look like in the preseason. We had some of the biggest WNBA stars go back to their alma maters. We got to see the Golden State Valkyries kick off their inaugural season, but now it's time for the real deal. The regular season tips off this Friday, May 16th at 7:30 p.m. We've got a ton of names to keep an eye on this season. Like I mentioned, a brand new franchise to keep an eye on in their season and making a bigger name for themselves and also for the league as a whole. I'm Caroline Fenton, joined by Ice Young and Cassandra Negley. Ice, we'll start with you. What are you most looking forward to? Maybe the biggest name, your favorite move that you saw in this past offseason?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, it cannot be understated what the Indiana Fever did. I feel like that is immediately where we have to go because there was so much hype for this team last year, getting back-to-back number one draft picks, Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, getting to the just WNBA playoffs was a great, I felt like, congratulations and congratulatory moment for this franchise because it has been a while since they have been that competitive. And now you add a DeWanna Bonner in the offseason. Man, now you add someone who has won two championships in her career. You add a Natasha Howard, who has also won in the WNBA. Just the experience, the length, the diversity that this team now really has. And that's only talking about the players that we think are going to start the game, right? There's obviously bench players like a Sophie Cunningham, who's a sharpshooter, a Sydney Colson who provides a backup point guard option for this team. I love what they did in terms of just bringing in different pieces to really fit around Caitlin Clark, to really fit around Aaliyah Boston. Stephanie White has a lot of talent on her hands, Cass.
Yeah, you could start by saying the offseason moves for the Fever started with hiring Stephanie White, which was very, very smart. As you said, they've done it very intelligently in kind of piecing this together. And I think having covered Indiana the last few years, dating back to Aaliyah Boston's rookie year, this is what people in the front office had been talking about. We don't have championship experience. We don't have a vet who knows how to get there, how to get it done. Now they have what, 4, 5 vets with that experience who want to come in and lead this group, assimilate into this group, and win another championship.
Yeah, they bring Stephanie White over as their head coach for the Connecticut Sun. And it's not just all of these new pieces that they've added, which is huge, adding that veteran presence. It's also Aaliyah Boston coming back for year three, Caitlin Clark coming back for year two, Kelsey Mitchell returning into the fold as well. It's a lot of newness, but it's also a lot of some of that foundation, that youth and that foundation that they already came into in the 2025 season. Cass, what's another move or maybe kind of big time marquee off-season change or shift that happened this past off-season that you're going to keep an eye on?
We all knew that Kelsey Plum was probably on the move the way last year played out. She hadn't re-signed with the Aces, which was just kind of odd. Her going to LA, I think, is very fun. She had said just this week ahead of games, it was just about doing something new, being fresh, learning how to grow. I love that she's reuniting with Dearica Hamby. They have a very fun relationship, a very good on the court relationship. This is a program or a franchise that hasn't been to the postseason in 4 or 5 years, which for them is an incredibly long time for LA. So I think it'll be fun to see that relationship with Cam Brink if she does come back in the middle of this year and all the talent they have out there to grow. Probably definitely not competing for a championship this year, but definitely a fun offseason move.
That's my question, Ice. If you don't mind me stepping in here, my question about the Sparks is just how much better did they get with the addition of Kelsey Plum? Rickea Jackson comes back for year two. She's improved her defensive game. Like you mentioned, Cameron Brink, an elite defensive player already and just a little bit of experience in the WNBA. Kelsey Plum comes in. She's a certified all-star. Obviously, she makes them better. But every other team, it feels like, in the WNBA, Ice, just got that much better in the
Yeah.
offseason.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. What an interesting offseason it was, especially having just an expansion team as well. It kind of throws a wrinkle into things. I'll say, I'm excited for Kelsey Plum and Dearica Hamby, but I think the best part about the Sparks is just the young core that they're also building there with Cam Brink and with Rickea. Maybe they're not a championship contender this year, But I tell you what, I think give that core four, a season or two together, I think they could compete for a championship. Kelsey Plum is going to increase her leadership. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what the Sparks can do with the changes that they've made, but having her as really their main leader and offensive focal point. And then Dearica Hamby coming off one of her best seasons that she's had as a professional in the W. It makes for an exciting thing going on right now in LA.
Let's take a deeper dive into the Indiana Fever. I think what we are all affectionately calling them the Showtime Fever going into this year, because their offseason was very clearly we're not playing around. We are competing for a championship this season. Obviously, at the focal point of that is Caitlin Clark and her first true off season since 2023, since she went from the national championship game to the draft right into Indiana this past off season. She had an off season where she was able to relax. She was able to kind of work out and do her own thing, improve herself, as well as improve her play on the court. With all of their additions, with Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark with 1 year and that duo under their belts, plus all of their offseason additions, Ice, what did the Fever have to do to take that next step? They made the playoffs last season, but how can they be a legitimate championship contender in 2025?
Yeah, there was really no question to me last year that their offense at times was good enough to be at a championship level where they could score and figure out how to score against anyone. The question was really their defense. And a lot of that just really alluded to it being kind of a young team, having players like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston who are still trying to figure out how to guard some of the best players in the world. And then with the physicality and dealing with that. So those players coming back and having more experience. But when you add DeWanna Bonner, when you add Natasha Howard, you cannot stay enough how important it is to have that veteran leadership, that length and that size defensively, and also just the anchors of the defense. I truly believe it'll be a season in which we see DeWanna Bonner do everything in her power, probably more than we've seen in years past, because it's getting towards the end of her career. But she knows that with the pieces around her, there is an opportunity to win a championship. So for me, Caroline, I think their offense is going to be tremendous. It's going to be high powered. It's going to be fast. It's going to be disciplined. I'm looking forward to seeing how many threes they can knock down each game. But defensively is where, if they win a championship, that is where they're going to have to make the most ground to cover. And I have faith in them because of the pieces and the experience they brought in.
Absolutely, defense has been the issue, will continue to be an issue if they don't put it together. I do agree they will, though. If you look at the numbers, they ranked 11th in the league last year, which was only above Dallas. The number one team was Connecticut, which was led by Stephanie White. So full confidence in them. Also, if you look down the roster and those bench players that they can put in, like Sydney Colson's defense to win the Aces the championship a couple years ago, absolutely incredible. So they have all of these different tinkering pieces to play with the offense and defense as they go.
And we got to see a little bit of that in that matchup against the Brazilian national team when they went back to Iowa and Caitlin Clark's old stomping grounds. Obviously, it's not the same thing as we're looking at a Brazilian national team that wasn't at full strength, but we at least kind of got to see a peek of what this team is capable of. This has been a past off season of a lot of change. 7 new head coaches in different places as we start this season. Obviously, we mentioned a lot of the free agency and trades that went down this past off season, but I don't want the change to overshadow what was a proven commodity last season, and that is the New York Liberty. It's hard to win championships in back-to-back seasons, but Cass, does the Liberty have what it takes to go back-to-back?
Yeah, I think in the preseason, you don't count them out. I think the biggest concern I have is losing Benijah Laney Hamilton. She's a player who's not going to necessarily lead you every night in statistical categories or be kind of that star player you think of. But defensively, she was huge for them. She's the head of their defense. Natasha Cloud coming in could help that a lot. I'm super excited to see Maureen Johannes in the WNBA again. 3-point shooting extraordinaire, just a magician off that. I think it's what the left foot. The Liberty have what it takes to go back, but I think as we've seen, especially with the Aces, like it's really hard. It is really, really hard.
Yeah. I mean, That target on your back is just 10 times bigger once you've won it. And what makes the Liberty so dangerous is that they have multiple stars that could have won a finals MVP, right? It could have been Brianna Stewart's night. It could have been Jonquel Jones, which it was, and she is the reigning finals MVP. I like the star power that they bring back. I think actually Natasha Cloud is going to be a really good fit for them from a personality standpoint and also just on the court, what she brings with her passing and her ability to score the basketball. One other thing they lost was Kayla Thornton. And, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention how important it is to have really key contributions off the bench in a playoff championship basketball. And so I also think without Benijah Laney Hamilton and then Kayla Thornton, there are some areas where defensively they may not be as strong, but offensively it's still going to be a team that's fun to watch. That'll be one of the best scoring teams, I believe, in the W. So I think they have an opportunity to go back to back.
Yara Sab could be really good off the bench for them, stepping up into that bench role.
One of the most fun 3-point shooting teams to watch in the entire W. And someone else who is also very fun to watch is Paige Bueckers in her first season in the W, the first overall pick to the Dallas Wings. Now, we saw her in the preseason. She was averaging about 12 and a half points per game in the preseason, but that also included a 30-plus point loss to Vegas in the preseason. So, Cass, what can we expect from Paige Bueckers maybe individually in her first year in the league and Dallas as a whole?
A lot of excitement from what we've seen in the preseason. Some of her passes have been absolutely incredible. We always talk about her vision and that ability that she's had for a long time. I think that's what's going to translate immediately. She's incredibly efficient. I don't think that will change that much. She's already building chemistry with teammates. I don't think she's going to have the year that Caitlin Clark had last year, but I also don't think that's a fair comparison because Caitlin Clark's year was absolutely incredible for a rookie, and we've really only seen Candace Parker have a better year than Caitlin had.
Yeah, I think there are going to be a lot of demands put on Paige Bueckers, to be quite honest. I think the expectations for her are high because she has always been a high caliber athlete. One from a leadership standpoint. I don't think any of us know Paige how we have known and seen her and followed her in college, and don't think that she'll get to the next level and be a leader. So I think a lot will be required on her in terms of, did we get the right shot up every time down the floor? Hey, is inside Tierra McCowan getting enough touches? Also, is Arike getting enough touches and shooting the ball in the right positions? I'm most excited to see how her and Arike really start to gel. Can they become one of the top 3 duos in the WNBA, which is going to be a tough feat to do because we have some really good guard duos here this season. I feel like for Paige, with all the high expectations, the goal is to be a major contributor, to continue to stay efficient, and to help your team win basketball games. It becomes that simple at the next level. The Dallas Wings are an organization that has been making changes for the past few years, coaching changes, playing changes, obviously let go of one of their vets in Natasha Howard this past season. And so they need a seasoned team. It's time for Arike to continue to be that leader that she's been. She's grown her game every single year. But can Paige be the piece that kind of gets them going a little bit? Possibly.
And it might not be immediate. That transition from the college game to the pro game is not always seamless. Even Caitlin Clark in a record-setting rookie year as rookie of the year, that didn't come without some lumps and some difficulties along the way. So excited to see how Paige makes that transition into the W. I'm also really excited to see that transition from the rookie class last year to now that sophomore class this year. 2 members of that class are now with the Chicago Sky, or were drafted by the Chicago Sky in 2024. That's Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, 2 all rookie selections in 2024. They come back for this upcoming season. And Angel Reese said the Chicago Sky will probably shock a lot of people. Another team that made a ton of moves in the offseason, adding a lot of veteran presence. Courtney Vandersloot comes back to Chicago after a quick hiatus in New York where she just, had to go win a WNBA championship, casual. Ariel Atkins also comes to Chicago. She adds a ton of experience to this kind of younger team. Ice, what are you expecting from Chicago this year? And is Angel Reese right? Are this guy going to shock a lot of people?
It wouldn't be Angel if she didn't say her team was going to make some noise, right? One, I think for Chicago, I really enjoyed watching them play last year. I enjoyed just the type of grit and how they were a fast-paced offense. There are a lot of different pieces for them this year, so not sure how exactly they're going to look, but head coaching standpoint, Tyler Marsh, someone that has won championships in the W as an assistant coach. I think there's a lot of expectations that lie for him being the head of this program. For Camilla and Angel, just the growth. I think special to point out that Angel Reese did participate in Unrivaled. She's been playing 3-on-3 basketball. I have already seen in the preseason that change and that adjustment in her game, her bringing the ball up fluidly, being able to make a post entry pass to Camilla and kind of run like a point forward. You weren't seeing Angel be a point guard a season ago because that wasn't where she was comfortable, but she's grown in that area. And then I think, like you mentioned, just the veteran experience that they bring. Obviously, Courtney Vandersloot, Beck Allen, Ariel Atkins, who I believe could be the X factor for them. I think Ariel Atkins also is a player that needed a fresh start, was in Washington for a long time, back in 2019 when they won a championship. And since then, it's been pretty choppy. I'm wondering if this is the team and the kind of new chapter she needs to really start to blossom again as a two guard in this league.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting pairing of some of those that veteran presence and some of these really young post presence players like we can see in Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese as well. Overall, some things that we haven't touched on quite yet that you're looking forward to, maybe a bold prediction or a player or an individual team that you're keeping an eye on as we head into the regular season.
My bold prediction would be, and Cass stated this earlier, she just spoke about heartbreak in a different way, but that the Minnesota Lynx are going to win a championship. I just don't believe that how close Cheryl Reeve and Nafisa Collier got, that they aren't going to come back with a level of vengeance and unleash that on the rest of the WNBA. I also think it could be a year in which Nafisa Collier is our MVP. The way in which she was playing last season, winning Defensive Player of the Year, and she was oh so close to Asia in the race for MVP. But this might be the season in which she flips things around and starts to lead that. I also think a sleeper team to watch because their roster is jumbo and very interesting is Atlanta. Atlanta with Brittany Griner, with Brianna Jones inside, two really nice pickups in the offseason. They maintained a Ryan Howard, who's one of the best shooting guards in the W, and then Alicia Gray as well. It'll be important to see what that core can do. You add Jordan Canada as the point guard. Maybe that's a team that can also compete for a championship down the stretch if they throw the ball inside and score at a high clip. So I think those two teams could be prime to possibly win a championship and make some noise.
The vengeance part of what you're talking about with Minnesota is actually why I'm not all on board for Indiana winning a championship. If you see it year after year, like you have to get close, and close is a semifinals. It's not losing in the first round, you know? And Indiana doesn't have that yet. And I don't care how much they talk about like we're all hungry in different ways. Like if Indiana wins, I won't be surprised. But I'm not going to like put my all into saying the Fever are winning a championship because a team like Minnesota is ticked off the way Game 5 ended.
Yeah, and they return everyone, right? You know, they lost a key bench piece to the Valkyries, but besides that, they return everyone and have some pieces that I believe didn't play as much last year that have grown and probably will contribute more this year, if that's what we're seeing in the preseason. So I definitely think the Lynx could be that team.
Revenge can be a heck of a motivator. And if anyone is doubting how big of a factor that very much could be, look at Nafisa Collier's Unrivaled season because she played pissed off. And I can only imagine that she's going into this regular season feeling the exact same way. Also, have to shout out the Golden State Valkyries, their inaugural season. I'm so excited to see San Francisco in the Bay Area be part of the W. I'm excited to see how that team kind of shakes out and how they start things off. I don't expect Golden State to be a championship contender this year, and their first year. Just excited to have them in the league. We are so excited for the W to finally be back again. That is Friday, May 16th. It starts off with Atlanta at Washington at 7:30 p.m., Minnesota and Dallas, Los Angeles, and Golden State also in action on Friday. So keep it right here with Yahoo Sports. We'll have reactions and analysis to all of the W action.